Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, madam. Am I audible? Good afternoon, Mr.
Yes, yes.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Vaibhav, sir, can we begin the session? Maybe,
Yes, madam. Yes,
sir,
Patel, sir.
but I sir, we are waiting.
Huh?
Very good afternoon to Joseph, Shankala, and Dr. Vaibhav. and Thank you for little delay with the technical issues, but let's start with the sessions. Very good afternoon, all of you. And as we are going ahead with this particular test, particular series, where the knowledge is upgrading like anything, I should say that. And those who are attending these, they are also getting a lot of benefit and a lot of feedbacks on personal mail also. So with these little feedback, let me start these sessions as per the direction of Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, with the guiding path of Honorable Registrar, Dr. Bangal, sir, COA, sir, as they are routinely directing us to go ahead with these sessions where the reliable data and scientific acceptables, all details are regarding this particular session will go ahead. So I welcome all of you, and as a routine, those who are attending online with the YouTube link also, all my faculty members, PGs, UG students, and all other colleagues, please take the benefit of this last session of this particular series. I take this again one more formality to request Dr. Strunkala to introduce our today's speaker. Over to you, Doctor.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much. So I would take this opportunity of introducing our most engaging and most honorable speaker for the day and all these series, Dr. Betsy Joseph, Madam. So, Dr. Joseph Madam is an internationally accomplished academician, researcher, and scientific leader with over 17 years of global experience in clinical practice, academia, and healthcare research. She serves as the director and scientific lead at Integra Research Craft LLP India and is also affiliated with the University of Helsinki, Finland, and Savita Dental College, SIMATS, India. She is widely recognized for her work in periodontics, regenerative therapies, evidence synthesis, and scientific communication, with over 70 publications in reputed international journals. She is a recipient of prestigious fellowships including FICD, FPFA, and MFDS RCPS Glasgow. She has led several international research collaborations and funded projects. We are indeed very privileged to have you with us, ma'am. So I think, according to the consensus, I don't think this series should end, but definitely It's wonderful to have you with us for the last session, so to say. But we're looking forward to have more and more wonderful interactions and insights from you. So over to you, ma'am, for the session. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Mahendra sir and the whole team of University Research Department at Maharashtra University of Health Sciences for organizing such a series and giving me the opportunity. So today's session is on how to turn our innovations into publications. Ma'am, could you please enable sharing, screen sharing?
Yes, ma'am. I would request the admin to do so. Yes. IT team, and I request you to please enable screen sharing. And can you do it now?
Let me try. It still says host isn't allowing screen sharing.
Okay. Just a minute. I shall make a call.
No worries. There's a delay. I can start without sharing the screen.
Yes, yes, yes. We can start also, no problem.
I will try once again. Okay, please let me know when it's enabled. We will start today's session. So today we will see how to turn our valuable ideas while planning a research into systematically planned publications. What happens is many researchers have many ideas, but they don't know how to turn into your research more than one publication. So today we have many postgraduate students, we have many PhD researchers and faculty members with us. So over these sessions, first we will see how research ideas can evolve into innovations, how to protect intellectual property and obtain research fundings. Then we'll see how to plan publication strategy from your innovation project. And finally, the career opportunities that emerge when researchers engage in innovation. So first we will look at identifying innovation opportunities.
I'm sorry for the interruption, but
No problem.
can you just check once if you are able to? Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we will go
Sorry, ma'am,
to.
I forgot to share the screen.
Is it okay now?
Yes,
So
ma'am. Yes.
this is, thank you. So today is the fifth and final topic while we are dealing with our main theme of publishing healthcare research in high impact journals. So we will look at different sections on how to plan your innovation, how to get patent, if applicable, how to get funding and how to plan publications, and not to stop your publication, your research with just publication, but turn it into diverse career opportunities. So many healthcare innovations begin with simple clinical problems. So when you're doing your research, during your PhD or even after that, or even as a postgraduate before your PhD, you might be coming across several problems. Now, since it's healthcare innovation, I'll be focusing more on clinical, but there are non clinical scenarios also. But let's focus on clinical scenarios that we commonly see. So, when clinicians repeatedly encounter problems that existing treatments or solutions cannot fully solve, then there comes an opportunity for innovation. That's what we call translating research into real solutions. That's where translational research comes into effect, what we call the bench to bedside. So, this is called bench to bedside approach, where translating scientific knowledge into real clinical solution. Now, this could be related to medical device, or it could be related to a biomaterial, digital oral health, AI tools, it could be anything. So, the process of converting your innovative idea into a publication and one step further into something that has a societal impact. This is a process identifying your unmet clinical needs, validating your idea, seeing whether it's a unique idea, and if so, patenting it, protecting your intellectual property, getting funding for your research, developing the prototype and doing initial research work to validate your research, and then going on to clinical studies and publishing it and coming up with something that has an impact on our society. So, the first step in doing this whole thing is identifying unmet clinical needs. Innovations usually start by identifying unmet clinical needs. If you repeatedly see a problem, it often indicates that the treatment that we just said, that the treatment or the available solution is not really, complete. So this gives you an opportunity to continue with something that will improve patient outcome. Let's look at an example. There are several examples in front of us. One very common example I would like to say is the Aravind eye care that we have in Tamil Nadu. How the problem was translated into something that has solved the problems of millions of people with eye blindness. Again, Jaipur foot, or lot of innovations that's coming out of Birac. So these are all examples where the researcher, the clinician, has identified an unmet clinical need and then worked towards solving it. So if I have to give you an example of how you could go ahead, let's look at a scenario. For example, you're a dentist sitting in your OP, and you see that there are a lot of patients that are coming back with recurrent periodontal disease even after your standard or your routine treatment is being given. So you want to take this up as as a project where you are coming up with an innovative idea. So what is the next step that you do? Next step is to convert your problem into research questions. So we are seeing how to convert our innovations into publications and beyond. For that, first step is to identify unmet needs, and then you convert it into research question, where you have various components of your research question, such as converting your framework into specifying it into population, intervention, comparison, and the outcome. Because a well structured question like this will help you guide study design, conduct proper literature search, and eventually prepare a meaningful manuscript. So, for example, you looked at the scenario of recurrent or refractory periodontal disease that you're seeing in your clinic. So now you did literature search or focus literature search, and you found out that light therapy is having effect on improving certain outcomes. So you are framing your research question. You are converting your problem into a research question with different components. You continue your literature review, and before developing an innovation, you have to understand deeper what all research has been done and what more needs to be done. Now, this is not only in terms of what all research has been done, but also in terms of intellectual property, patenting. So here you have an innovative idea and you want to convert into publication. And before that, there are certain things that you need to be careful about if yours is a totally new study. So before developing innovation, researchers must understand what has been already done in terms of scientific evidence and in terms of patents that have been already that are already existing. So you find out existing research, then knowledge gap, and search patents and technologies. For that, you can search for research in PubMed and other databases. For patents, you can search in Google Patent, Indian Patent Database, VIPO Patent Scope, etc. So this step ensures that your innovation is truly new and scientifically meaningful. Now comes the step of developing the innovation concept. After identifying a research gap, the next step is conceptualizing the solution. At this stage, you begin to think how your innovation could work. For that, you have to not only identify a unmet clinical need, but also validate the clinical need. Every research question or every research problem that might come to your mind, you might not be able to validate. So you validate it by literature search, talking to stakeholders, talking to clinicians, talking to patients, and you validate that really this is a need. Then you finalize your idea and you start developing design sketches, conceptual diagrams, or defining the mechanism of action. Essentially, the idea begins transforming into a structured research project at this stage. So, typically, what do? We see an idea, we get an idea in our clinic for your PhD thesis or maybe your PG thesis or even after that, and then you do one research and you do one publication and ends there. When you follow this whole structured format, you will see that at the end you are able to come up with multiple impactful publications. So here, coming back to the example that we were discussing, when you are developing the innovation concept, you are developing that light therapy. Now you are reading the literature and finding out there are different types of lights. There are lasers, there are LEDs, and then you finalize that you want to use LED of a particular wavelength, and then that's how you go ahead. Now comes the stage of evaluating innovation potential, because not every idea should become a full project. So researchers must evaluate whether the idea truly solves a problem. So you ask questions. Now, before registering for patent, if you're asking questions, you better ask it only to yourself. Do not disclose it before you apply for patent. So you ask yourself, or you evaluate, does the idea solve a real problem? Is it novel? Is it feasible? Will it improve patient outcomes? So this step helps focus effort on ideas that have real impact. Example, in your case, you specify the wavelength, you specify the type of light you want to use, and then you ask that using this, when you're going to treat your particular disease of interest here, for example, it's recurrent periodontitis. Is this a new treatment? Does it have real value? Is it feasible? Will patients' outcome improve? So are there existing devices using this particular wavelength? Can this technology be safely applied in oral tissue? So these are different things you would consider. Now, while you're doing your PhD, you might not be marketing your product, but any healthcare innovative idea for which you are applying for patent, and if it's really novel and unique and it has certain credibilities, then ultimately it can and it should come out as a product which the patients can use. So I want you to keep this concept also in mind while you're developing your research project. So having in mind for innovations that may become technologies or products of tomorrow, it is important to think who will use this technology, who will benefit from it, is it affordable and practical, and what makes it unique. So considering the end user defines helps you refine also, because you're now going to work on the design of it and improve the adoption, right? So these are the things you will keep in your mind while you are planning your research, so that you can come up with meaningful publications. Now, we spoke about patenting your idea if it's really novel. So for an innovation or invention to be patentable, it should meet three criteria. One, it must be novel, it must be new. Number two, it must be inventive. That is, it should not be obvious to the experts in the field. And number three, it should have industrial adaptability. It must be practical and usable. Understanding these criteria will help researchers determine whether the innovation can be protected. When I say protected, can be protected by patenting your idea. So in this section, we will see how to, how your innovations can be patented, protected, and also funded. A provisional patent is usually the first step you would do when you want to protect the innovative idea that you have, that you're working in your research, which you finally want to publish. So before you publish, before you discuss your innovative idea to anyone in your lab or your clinic or in your team, you should ideally register for patent. You apply for patent. Now that can be done in two ways. You could do a provisional patenting, which usually allows you 12 months of time. Now this varies from country to country. In India, provisional patent gives you temporary protection for 12 months while the innovation is being refined. Later, a complete specification can be applied for by giving detailed technical notes, diagrams, mechanism, materials involved, claims, etc. You can, so here I'm telling you to have a broader perspective while you're planning for research, when you're conducting research. Instead of just thinking of having a research protocol, collecting data, publishing it, there are many other things that you can plan and you should plan, so that your publication has more meaning to the scientific community and also to you. So once you apply for patent, you also have a provision to apply for international patent. It's called PCT. I'm not going into the details, but I'm just introducing you to the concept that when you have a unique idea, you should be able to take the idea by applying for patent if it fulfills those conditions. So when you apply for international patent, it actually gives you protection in almost 157 countries based on what I read last, and it gives you almost 31 months time. So again, you have a research idea, you're working in your institution, you're assuming you are working in academia. Now, who owns the idea? Who owns the patent? So generally, in universities, ownership of patents depends on the institutional policy. The research was conducted using institutional resources, the university often owns the patent. So although the researcher is the inventor, the patent owner will be the institution. But if the invention was developed independently, outside the office time, outside your work time, then the researcher will both be the inventor and the patent owner. And when it comes to royalty sharing, again, royalty sharing policies vary between departments. So that you need to clarify with the institution where you're working. Now, we spoke about having a research idea based on the unmet clinical need and how to protect your idea. Now, protecting is not enough. For you to conduct impactful research, you need to also secure research funding. So, innovation requires financial resources, research grants, support, many stages of your research activities. For example, if you're dealing with a medical device, you would want to do prototype development. Or if you're for many of your projects, you would need lab testing, clinical studies. So funding agencies will support meaningful research, if it is novel, if it is having a translational value, that is what you're doing in your lab can ultimately get translated into something that's useful to the patient, the bench to bed concept, and it is useful to the society. So these are the things that the funding agencies look for. There are many funding agencies that you can approach when you're planning your research to get different grants. So in India, we have Department of Science and Technology, Department of Biotechnology, Indian Council for Medical Research, BIRAC, which is Biotechnology, Industry Research Assistance Council, and many other. So do go to these websites and see what are the type of projects they are supporting. Some of them would support oncology, some of them might support translational research related to medical devices or whatever it is. So you need to see what these organizations are prioritizing. Many of them prioritize translational and technology driven research. So, for example, BIRAC has a grant. There are many grants. One grant, it's called the big grant, which is the biotechnology ignition grant, which almost around 50 lakhs is given as part of that grant. And you can also look into small research, innovation research, in small business innovation research initiative, or academic research conversion for enterprises, and several other grants that is available. So these programs, why are we discussing this when we are talking about publication? These programs help researchers convert their scientific ideas into real healthcare solutions by conducting meaningful and research using cutting edge technology and whatever technology is needed. Again, if you're looking at international funding sources, you have NIH, you have NIHR, you have Horizon Europe, you have CIHR from Canada, you have Japan Society for the Promotion of Science, JSPS, you have National Natural Science Foundation of China, and many other grants such as Bill and Melinda Gates and Wellcome Trust, and many other translational innovation grants that is available. So you saw how from identifying an unmet clinical need and validating the clinical need and searching whether that's really unique, and if it's unique, applying for patent, also applying for different research funding, you are able to conduct research, you are able to validate your research through these steps. So now in this section, we will see how innovations are scientifically validated, because that is the data you need to use in your publication. That is the data that you have to publish. So very often when you have a plan and you are developing, you will need to do prototype development where you are converting your idea into a working model. Here you will have to do multiple iterations of testing and design refinement, which is very important in prototype development stage. For example, when you're talking about the example that we took in the beginning, you're developing a light-based therapy. You want to develop a chair-side light-based device to treat periodontitis, recurrent periodontitis. Then you are working on developing a prototype handheld device that can be used chair-side. Now, to further develop it, you need preclinical and laboratory testing before you go into testing these innovations in human beings. So laboratory examinations to evaluate safety, to evaluate performance, biological mechanism, etc., will be needed before you go further towards clinical research. So you see how step by step we are coming closer and closer into conducting research and generating research that can be used for your publications. Now, after you have sufficient preclinical data, you have to apply to regulatory authorities and get regulatory approvals and ethical approvals before you can conduct these studies involving patients. So healthcare innovations must always comply with these regulatory guidelines. For example, you have to go through the uh, CDSCO, or you have, which is a CDSCO is a Central Drugs Standard Control Organization. You have the Drug Controller General of India, which is the DCGI. You have Clinical Trial Registry of India, which is the CTRI, or if you're from another region, another part of the world, every country has its own clinical trial registry where you'll have to register your trials if that is the study design that you have. And of course, you need to get ethical approval from the institution to conduct these tests involving humans. Now, if your research is related to medical device, you could also refer to Medical Device Rules, MDR 2017. Now, even if it's academic studies and you are planning for your clinical studies, you need to go through these compliances. Now, after you get this approval, you will conduct clinical studies to evaluate whether the innovation actually benefits the patients. For this, we plan clinical studies at various stages. We start by conducting a pilot study. Then, based on the results of the pilot study, you make necessary changes in the protocol and further get approval and conduct the clinical trial. For example, you could conduct randomized clinical trial, and you could conduct several observational studies or clinical studies to evaluate safety, effectiveness, and efficacy of the treatment that you are suggesting. So this evidence becomes the foundation for scientific publication, because when you're conducting these studies, you're collecting data, then you are doing statistical analysis of the data, and you are coming up with results for your research question. And so this forms the foundation for your scientific research. So instead of just having a research idea and going and conducting a study which may not benefit patient, we are seeing how to come up with ideas that have real impact on patient outcome. So after following these steps, we come to this stage where innovative projects generate scientific publications. So here we will see how mapping the publication pathway can help you generate more than one publication in an innovative research project. Because innovative projects may produce several research questions. You might have one common or innovative project, but it will have different aspects. So it can have different research questions. So we are not talking about, there are people who get you get data from one study, and then you divide it into different parameters and do salami publishing. We are not talking about that. We are talking about identifying different research questions based on different aspects of our research, so that each paper addresses different research question, and you can come up with publications at different stages of the project. So together, your whole strategy of publication mapping can help you come up with different publications that will tell the whole story of your innovation. So during PhD, you need to have when you're preparing your protocol for your PhD, usually people are in a hurry to just submit the protocol. But I would suggest that you spend time on planning your research and also start publication mapping at that stage itself. Instead of looking for what publication can come out of whatever you have done at the end, it is good to do publication mapping, because this is relevant not only in academia. For a long time, we thought while you're doing a PhD and you don't have an exposure to industry outside academia, you you tend to think that these publications are useful only for PhD. But when you I work with a lot of industries. So when they consult me for publications, we do a publication mapping and we help them come up with different publications at different stages. So here you need to have an idea how to plan publications at different stages of your research. So let's see, early stage of publication. When you're planning for your research, when you're in your initial stages, there are certain publications you can come up with. For example, a simple narrative literature review or a systematic literature review. Or you are planning the protocol, you're preparing the protocol. There are journals that accept research protocol like BMJ. They accept protocol itself as a paper. Before you conduct, you can actually publish your protocol itself. Then you can also publish the methodology of your paper if it's unique and if you think that instead of waiting for the whole study to get over and somebody else might do a similar methodology, you could publish a methodology paper. Now, I would also like to mention that if you are planning for applying for patent, please apply for provisional patent at least before you start publishing. I'm not talking about literature reviews. I'm talking about original research papers such as protocol or methodology or original research data. Before you publish this, make sure that you have secured your idea, your protocol through patent. So we see that when you are in your initial stage of publication, you can come up with certain papers such as review papers or protocol papers or papers that you're talking about methodology, which are called technical note. So, for example, you're working on the topic that I mentioned, you could come up these types of paper in the scenario that I mentioned. While you're working on your research during the development stage of your publication, again, you could come up with manuscripts. You could prepare manuscripts based on the pilot studies, based on feasibility studies, based on the preclinical or laboratory research. You could also come up with short communication where you are not preparing an elaborate manuscript, but instead of that, you are preparing an short communication where you are talking about your research question, your methodology, maybe a table or a figure. You go through the journal website and it will tell you the different requirement for short communication compared to original research. So I'm telling you that I'm trying to tell you that at various stages of your research, you can utilize the data, you can utilize different aspects of the data to come up with many research papers. Now, after planning your development stage publication, when you are in the final stage of your research, you can, once you finish your research, you can come up with publications related to clinical studies that evaluate safety, that evaluate effectiveness, that evaluate that also talk about the validation of your studies. For example, randomized controlled trial, evaluating the effectiveness of the example that we spoke about, the light therapy that you want to evaluate in periodontitis patients. Maybe you want to specifically look at a patient group called diabetic patients. So you could do publications in that particular field. Now, once validated, you may also study real world implication. Now, if you actually go to the website of Harvard Medical School and if you look at the topics that they are giving importance to, one is real world implications of studies, then AI, and third is patient related outcomes. So these are certain areas that universities are giving more importance to. So your publication need not even end with the randomized controlled trial. After you validate, you can even study real world implications and you can do publications related to real world clinical outcome studies or health technology assessment. For example, along with your clinical outcome, you are mentioning about the economic outcome, the social and the ethical impact of a particular treatment, of medical technology such as drugs, devices, or procedures. As for example, you could come up with a publication that is talking about implementation of the particular treatment that you have worked on. So you see how you can come up with multiple publications from a research innovative project. Now, that project is not just a research project, that is a project which is dealing with a health aspect, healthcare innovation. Only when your research is innovative can you come up with multiple aspects of publication. For example, you can do literature review, you can publish the protocol of a randomized controlled trial, you can publish the methodology of the development of a treatment delivery system. You can publish a pilot study which is evaluating the efficacy, the safety. You can also publish a randomized controlled trial that's comparing standard treatment versus light therapy. In our example, it could be a clinical study. Then you can also do an implementation study where you are reporting the adoption of a new therapy in a particular setting that you have planned. So these are different types of studies that you can think of. Now, when you plan your manuscript, you also have to select your journal, and there are 5 stages that you can adopt, consider, and evaluate when you're planning for journal. First one is you check whether the journal that you're submitting actually fits the topic that you're working on. Then check the indexing of your journal, whether your journal is Scopus Index or PubMed Index or Science Citation Index, and what is the requirement of the funding agency. Have they specified any particular indexing for the journal that you will be publishing your research? What is the timeline? What is the cost involved? And at your stage, which type of journal is suitable? So all these considerations should be given when you're selecting a journal for publishing your paper. Now, usually what happens, you plan your research, even for PhD or after PhD, you plan your research. You might have 1 or 2 papers. Now you saw how to have multiple papers, and many researchers think that publishing papers with publishing papers your research ends, but I want to give you an extra point. Based on the mentoring experience that I have for the last many years, I want to tell you that the research skill, the evidence-based research skill, the analytical skill, the scientific judgment, and the critical analysis skill that you develop during the whole process of research, starting from research planning till publishing, helps you identify several new career paths. So, one path would be taking your innovation to the patient. You have done an innovation, you have secured patent, maybe you have got funding, and you have done publication. It should not end there. You should take your product from the lab to the market so that it reaches the patient. So what do? Your innovation can reach patients in different pathways. One approach is licensing your intellectual property to companies. So this is something you might definitely want to do this after your PhD. So instead of thinking of a career only in academia or in clinical practice after your PhD, usually in academia research after your PhD, you could think of many other options. Number one is licensing your intellectual property to companies. There you can license it to another company or co-develop the product that you worked on with the industry, and you can use contract manufacturing. So in fact, licensing your IP to a company is also a source of passive funding. Now, second pathway to go beyond the laboratory to help your research reach the patient is technology transfer through university. So you will have academic divisions that deal with technology transfer, that handles licensing transfer to industry. And the third one would be that you as a researcher, after you finish your PhD, can form startups to commercialize your innovation. So always think of a bigger picture when you're planning your research. You think that your research has to go and can very well go beyond your research paper. It can very well go beyond your thesis. It can actually be a source of career opportunity for you. So if you were to look at different career opportunities, so while we wind up, we will look at different, as we wind up, we'll look at different career opportunities, because researchers who innovate and publish develop diverse career opportunities. This includes, of course, academic research opportunities, but also opportunities in healthcare industry, in consulting role, in medical writing and medical affairs, and in entrepreneurship. So there are different career opportunities that are available to you as a part, as a result of you working on a healthcare innovative project and taking it through this whole process, which means your research does not end with publication. It goes much beyond, in a way that your product reaches the patient, has an impact on the patient, and also has a benefit for your own career. So we, to summarize the things that we discussed today, we can say we saw that innovation begins by identifying clinical problem. Then the researchers develop innovative ideas, and then you protect your intellectual property before you disclose your idea to anyone or anywhere, before you disclose it even in a conference or in a publication. You apply for funding to conduct your research, to validate your research, and finally you publish your evidence through scientific publications. And it does not end there. It offers you various career opportunities also. So I would like to thank you all for your patient listening, and you can always continue this journey of learning. Connect with me on LinkedIn for multiple other learning opportunities that regularly come up as part of our initiative, scientific initiatives. So thank you so much, and I'm open to questions now.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Joseph. I think session open for the question and answers. Any questions from the audience? Students, you can put your questions in chat box. Those students are attending the session on YouTube. There are certain questions. How students publish innovations without a lab work? How students
today's-
publish?
How students publish innovation without lab work.
Yeah.
So in today's presentation, we saw how we need lab work, or say preclinical and clinical work, to refine our research question and validate our studies. So it's not very clear what is their clinical idea that they're talking about, that they want to take without preclinical work. Usually you will need both these to validate and come up with meaningful results.
Next question is there any our Indian government organization to provide the fund for publishing the research articles and some patents? Because
So many of the research funding agencies that I mentioned during the presentation gives you the funding, and when you write the budget for the funding, you can also allocate a particular amount for your statistical analysis, for help with different aspects of publishing. So yes, it is included in the funding project that you'll be writing.
I want one additional information like ONS. That is
sir, you're not audible. Vaibhav sir,
now I'm audible.
it's feeble.
Yeah. I would like to additional comment on this. ONOS, that is a one nation, one subscription. This is the website, government, Indian government, for online journals and articles. This ONS also provides the fund for the publications. If you apply
Yes.
before publication, or you can visit the website, you get the additional information.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Other question, when we publish these research articles or patents during our research career or our research work, so what is the benefit actual in the national and international market?
That benefit was discussed as part of the career opportunities. So
Yeah.
when you publish your research, one, your CV is getting stronger, but
Yeah.
more importantly, the research skills that you're developing will help you get into different career opportunities other than academia in corporate world and in other industries. So there are multiple uses of doing publication. It's not just a publication, it's also better career opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. Like in India, ISRO is there, DRDO, ICMR, ISC Bangalore, IITs. There are a lot of
Everywhere there is huge opportunities for people
Also,
who can get into publications.
Indian government provides the funding for the startup. If you visit the Indian government site, or you can get the job opportunities in abroad.
In fact, Indian government is promoting a lot of startups because coming up with our own career opportunities. So there's a lot of support that you get from Startup India. Like I'm from Kerala, so we have Kerala Startup Mission and many other organizations at different areas. So that's also something that the participants can look at.
Also for higher studies, Indian government also provide the funding like postdoc fellowship, different. Yes, for abroad also there are a number of research fellowship. So definitely we'll get the if you publish a good quality work or patent, definitely will get the benefit. Yes, this is the one of the simplest way. So how to get the higher position or higher jobs in the Indian premier organization or in abroad. Definitely you will get definitely job in NASA also. If you have some quality and patentable work, definitely will get, or you can get additional Oxford or Cambridge University also. Yeah, definitely. Any other questions? Participants? I think overall session is very excellent and get a lot of information, in particular in healthcare sectors. Definitely in future or in between, if you have any doubt or questions for students, definitely last time we discussed about the LinkedIn. So definitely we'll communicate or we'll communicate to your department, Dr. Patai. Thank you. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone.
I think it's a clear understanding of the lot of audience will get how to systematically convert their innovative ideas. Not ideas, but the clinical experience and of course the academic initiatives for the quality scientific publications. And what qualifies an innovation in research and clinical practice, that is in other way, try to get understand little bit ideas at UG or PG will get. And hopefully this will helpful for us. Thank you so much for such a informative and excellent session. Thank you so much, Dr. Hussain.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure. Thank you so much and best
Thank you
wishes.
so much.
Bye-bye.